Hello, hello. It's me, Arden Lee, and today I am here with a video on how to stop the drama in your life. How to stop the drama. First, if you don't know me already, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button, hit subscribe. Here on this channel, I give talks on how to hack your beliefs to optimize your happiness and create a better reality for yourself. So if you're interested in that, I would love to see more of you, and as always, feel free to leave topic suggestions in the comments. If there's something that you want to hear me cover, I would love to hear what your burning questions, burning problems are, so let me know, and if I can help, I will do my best. So what am I going to talk today about in regard to stopping the drama? Stop the drama in your life. Well, I'm going to use a model that is called the Karpman Drama Triangle. And what the Karpman Drama Triangle is, it is essentially a model of a dynamic that happens pretty often, and generally it involves about three people who in the model are at the 3 points of the triangle. At one point of the triangle, you have the victim. You have the person who feels that they are being attacked or treated unfairly, yelled at, bullied, victimized in some way. And then you also have the bully, the person who is doing the bullying, the person who is, going out of their way to make someone feel bad, or that for whatever reason the thing that they're doing is infringing on the person who is playing the victim's role's autonomy. Someone who, whether this is imagined in the victim's mind or whether there is actual bullying happening, that's that part of the triangle right there. And then the third component is the rescuer. The rescuer is the person who intervenes and says, I'll help you, victim. I will stop this bully from bullying you, and somehow I will do that in order to also feel better about myself. So there you have it. You have victim, bully, rescuer. And there are people who sometimes go around and they have a role that they love to be in. There are sometimes situations in which, there may be a situation in your life in which you've been the victim, another situation in which you've been the rescuer, and maybe even one in which you've been the bully. Even if you weren't intentionally trying to bully someone, or if even if maybe that was projected onto you and you were dragged into that. Maybe someone even created animosity with you by making assumptions about you that you then sort of stepped into. We train people how to treat us, and there are some people out there who will actually train us to treat them fairly badly because of the way that they treat us. And that doesn't. I'm not trying to victim blame in any way, but there are so many ways that this dynamic can show up, whether real or imagined. So let's go through and let's talk about them, and maybe you'll find yourself reflected in one or more of these archetypes, and then we'll talk about how to stop that, right? So if you're the victim, if you're someone who is always feeling like things are really bad and the world is ending, and no matter what's going on, you'll always find something to complain about, something that's going wrong, something to catastrophize, and oh my God, is this this is so bad, or this person's being mean to me, or whatever. You will find ways of interpreting your reality around you to mean that that you're being persecuted all the time. And sometimes this, as I said, sometimes this is real. Sometimes we have people in our lives who really do treat us badly, and we put ourselves in the victim role sometimes by allowing it, by not drawing a good boundary for ourselves. We stay in that toxic relationship, or we stay in that toxic friendship, or we fail to draw good boundaries with our boss at work, or whatever it is, right? So if you're someone who's noticing that you experience that feeling of persecution all the time, it might be time to examine that. It might be time to say, do I even have anyone in my life that I really feel safe around, that I really feel like I haven't, damaged the friendship or whatever, people that I can actually really go to where this is not happening? Why is this theme coming up so much for me? Why, why is this happening, or does it at least seem to be happening more to me than it does to other people? And you want to start looking at your responsibility for that. I say that as someone who has been a victim of a lot of things in her life, whether it was domestic violence or sexual assault or targeted harassment, doxing, you know, oh my gosh, emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse, parental abuse, you know. All sorts of things, and eventually I really did had to take a look at myself and where, you know, even though it wasn't my fault that people were doing those things to me, it was my responsibility to say no. I'm not going to allow you to treat me this way, and to walk away from those people if they continued to do so, to find better environments and better people where I was treated better. So if that is something that's happening to you a lot, you might want to look at where you might be allowing those dynamics in your life, and where can you start to find more safe spaces and social circles where this doesn't follow you as much. And if it's following you everywhere, then you're going to need to start looking at your behavior for where you may actually be creating creating a narrative that someone is persecuting you even when perhaps they're not. Now, we'll look at the persecutor role too. In the persecutor role, you know, that is the person who, for whatever reason, is making the victim feel, whether they're actually doing it or whether it's, again, whether it's real or perceived, for our purposes today here, it doesn't really matter. If I were actually mediating a situation, of course it would matter, whether that harm, it would matter what that person's actions really were, and whether they were doing harm, of course. But for the sake of talking about the energy of the drama, it really could be either one. It could be a dynamic where perhaps someone is really actually trying to help the victim in some way, but they see it as pushy or coming across in a way that is attacking them or criticizing them personally, right? So you could still be in the bully role even if you're trying to be a good person, but for whatever reason, someone is complaining and saying that that you're making them feel bad, or that whatever however that's going down, that they feel bullied, they feel persecuted by you for whatever reason. And you may actually have to examine your actions. You may say, where is this true? Actually, where am I being a bully when I even don't realize it necessarily? Or maybe you are being a bully and you're used to, because maybe you grew up in environments in which that was normal, and for you, you're like, what? Everybody does that. I'm yelling at this person, or I'm making them feel bad about themselves, or I'm making fun of them. But hey, we're like, everyone does that. It's like, it's kind of like being in high school. It's like being in that kind of Mean Girls vibe. If you're around cliques of people who act that way, and that behavior has been normalized to you, then you might be bullying people, and you might not even identify as a bully, but it might be something that you're actually doing, whether it's conscious or unconscious. So certainly if you find that people are making complaints, it's a really good time to examine your behavior and look at where that might be true. And finally, the third person in the Karpman drama triangle is the rescuer. And oftentimes the victim will run to the rescuer and say, hey, the bully is being mean to me. I need your help, come and save me. And the rescuer is usually someone who gets their own sense of self-worth from helping others, but often at the detriment of their own needs. And so they might step in and they might, say, hey, bully, stop bullying, the victim. Or they may say to the victim, well, I'm here to help you, and, and I think you should do XYZ, like, here's how you can stop this from happening, or whatever. And sometimes they may do that, and then they may be seen as being critical, and then they're put into the bully position, right? And the victim goes and finds someone else to rescue them from the rescuer, because the rescuer didn't rescue them in the way that they wanted to. So all of these are just about energetic dynamics. It's giving labels to things that are happening, but these roles can shift at any time. So if you are someone who is more comfortable helping other people than you are actually attending to yourself and your own needs and your own boundaries, then you might be a rescuer. And as I think I said, that's certainly the one that I have fallen under in the past. It was so painful to look at my own situation. It was so painful to to even acknowledge that I had needs, because my needs were for so long were treated as embarrassing or shameful or whatever, that I was like, I'm not going to look at my needs and boundaries. I'm just going to help other people, and then I'll be contributing or whatever. I'll be valuable, I'll be worthwhile, and those people will love me because I'm helping them so much. Well, that's not always the way that it happens, as we know. And what happens to the rescuer is essentially the rescuer goes in and tries to help, mediate between the bully and the victim. Meanwhile, the rescuer is not attending to their own lives and their own needs, and they are getting too wrapped up or too involved in this other dynamic that really is none of their business. Now, I don't mean that you shouldn't help or mediate when your friends need you to be there. Certainly, it's great to have those reciprocal friendships where you're helping someone and then they show up for you in return when you need some help as well, when you need some guidance or advice. But really just check in and make sure that it's healthy. Make sure that, first of all, that your help is welcomed in separating the bully from the victim. Make sure that, but even if the victim is asking you to intervene, really look at whether they're needing and or using your help effectively, or they're just dragging you into their drama triangle. So there is a big difference there. If you certainly give people a shot for a couple times to be messy or mess up if you want to help them or whatever. But after a while, you really need to look at that and examine and say, you know what, if I have to keep getting this person out of scrapes all the time, they're not helping themselves. And ultimately, I'm not helping them by enabling them to continue being a victim by always coming in and saving their asses or whatever it is that I'm doing. So those are the three different points there. So if you do fall into that victim role, really start looking at taking responsibility for the environments that you are creating around yourself. And if people are harming you, really look at your ability to set personal boundaries and look at your ability to walk away from people who are treating you in a way that you don't agree with and that you're not in alignment with. If you're someone who finds yourself in the bully position often, you may want to look at the way that you are treating people. And even if you're trying to intervene in a way that is well-intentioned, maybe they're interpreting you as being critical because you're being a little too harsh. So you may need to step back from that a little bit as well and just take care of yourself for a little while and not care so much about what other people are doing, and not get your validation in relation to how you're perceived by other people, or by potentially putting other people down so that you can feel better about yourself, if that's one of your coping mechanisms. And finally, if you are a rescuer type, after a while, you have to look at all the time and energy that you've spent trying to rescue people, whether that has actually helped them at all, whether that has actually saved them from their drama triangles, or if it hasn't, So after a while, look, if you keep getting into that same situation again, look at how often you're stepping in to stand up for people or defend people, but really not taking care of your own needs and not being responsible for your own life. So if one of these archetypes really resonated with you, I invite you to really look at where that pattern showed up for you in your life. We're all going to have situations where we go through, and sometimes we're the bully, and sometimes we're the victim, and sometimes we're the rescuer, and whatever. But the question is, the really important thing is, are you perpetuating this by finding a groove and making a pattern of being in this one role? Is this a role that you've sort of made an unconscious, energetic agreement to take on? And how do you free yourself from that? Well, you start to examine your behavior and you stop doing the things that are putting you into that spot. Such as I said, if you're being a victim, start looking at setting healthier boundaries. Actually, if you're a bully, look at setting healthier boundaries too. And if you're a rescuer, also look at setting healthier boundaries. And remember, what is your business? And remember, what is your standards? What are your standards for how you want to be treated? And how are you enforcing those? And how are you taking responsibility for the environments that you're choosing around you? Even though, certainly you're not to blame for things that happen to you in bad environments that you're maybe you either are stuck in, or maybe you did choose to be in. Ultimately, even though that is not your fault, you do want to be responsible for where you are taking yourself, because ultimately there's nobody who can do that for you except you. Not even a rescuer. In fact, especially not a rescuer. So thank you again for watching, and that is how to be drama free. So if this was helpful, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and check back with me, and let me know how it went. Let me know how you're implementing everything. And thank you again for joining me and listening today.